4.6.1 alpha of the Morganton zoning ordinance, changing parking within the Central Business District zoning district to require no parking either off-street or on-street for any use. Part of the background on this is the fact that ordinance was extensive, and this was kind of an oversight, and I'll let Philip work us through that.
Mr. Chairman and members of the commission, in discussions early on in my employment and a little bit prior to my employment with the city, we talked about this issue of residential density downtown, and while we are researching that issue, we recognize that there was one component of that could be taken care of immediately, and that was the requirement for parking, on-site parking, which means that you develop a site with a building, you have to provide parking on site, and so that there was a requirement for that in downtown in Central Business District. And as we look throughout the area, and as I've reflected on the municipalities that I have worked with, that is typically not a requirement in downtowns. One reason is that is when you require parking, that it creates an inefficient development pattern because you are in an urbanized area, typically characterized by buildings that are constructed from one property line to another, and in a lot of cases from the front property line to the back, because there's a finite amount of space in downtowns, and you want to take advantage of every bit of that for the use. Now that is reliant on public parking throughout strategically placed throughout the downtown, and we have some displays of that, so we can kind of show you that. I'll just go ahead and show you so this is, we put up a map. We wanted to show you a map of downtown so that you can understand, and I know you all understand it infinitely better than I do, but the boundaries of downtown for the public out there. And that is what we're dealing with. And then we wanted to also show the areas in green are free all-day public parking. The area in yellow are 4-hour public parking. Then orange 2-hour, and then we have some red, although they're going to be harder to pick up on this map. But those are areas that are 10-minute parking, and then of course we show the downtown boundary superimposed on that as well. What we're trying to do is to indicate that there is an amount of public parking that is already out there. We realize that there may have to be more, but we wanted to go ahead and take care of this particular issue with an amendment that reduces the amount of minimum parking required to 0, and understanding that each use is going to dictate the amount of on-site parking that they are going to provide. So just because we don't require a minimum amount does not mean that they will not provide a certain amount commensurate with their land use. And all of that to say that we have that's kind of the background, but all of that to say that we have an amendment before you, and then I think the chairman will go over some amendments that he would like to propose to that. But the idea was that we would add in your so up here we have the existing development. And it basically says that you have to have on-site parking, and then you have to provide proof of that parking upon the application for the permit, and that's speaking generally citywide. And then we talk about all new developments, and we kind of reiterate that requirement, and then we say except as provided in subsection 4.4.6A1 below. And so we're saying proof of sufficient parking, except for the Central Business Zoning District, shall be provided upon application of a zoning permit. And then subsection 1 of that says within the Central Business District, off-street parking is not required. On-street parking is to be shared and may not be allocated to individual owners or businesses unless a valet agreement in a form and content to the satisfaction of the city attorney, is reviewed by the planning commission and approved by city council. And what that is for, we added that section about valet parking to deal with the eventual hotel or restaurant that may want to provide. In the case of a hotel, if I'm driving in and I want to check in, then I need you drive into a hotel and they have the 15-minute or 20-minute or 30-minute parking so that you can check in, maybe load your bags to your room. But in those cases, you have that ability to kind of pull in, and then either they have a valet and you go into your room, or you drive and park somewhere. But then also to have maybe a restaurant that would want to have a valet situation. And we wanted to provide that mechanism where that could take place. And so based on all of the reasons that that I gave earlier and then just gave regarding valet, we wanted to recommend to the Planning Commission that you consider this and approve it for recommendation to City Council.
Good deal. Thank you, Philip. Any questions or remarks or comments?
I've just got one question when we talk about valet. I understand the concept, and certainly your remarks is what we're heading for. It's a very old history situation, but I can remember when the city had cab stands. This is the Uber universe and that kind of thing right now, but would that fall under valet if that was to come back, or we just handle that whenever it did, if it did ever?
I don't think that was anticipated in this amendment. I think this was purely for those cases such as the hotel or the restaurant or that wanted to have the valet park.
I know we might have
but
a cab at the hotel.
I think a cab, cab stand is enough of a different animal that we would want to conduct research and maybe accommodate that at
different
that point.
license and everything.
I believe so.
You mentioned restaurants. Would that apply to like to-go dinners for pickup and so forth, a place for people to park?
No, I think that would be a separate issue. This would be purely when you drive in, you get out of your car, and they take your car to a public parking space. Now, if you feel like that is a concern, we could address that. We could add that in there as a provision that it does not include pickup, to-go type businesses.
Any other comments or questions? Okay, hearing none, I'm going to open it up for public comment. I have a question to Miss Downtown. What are your thoughts about? I think valet parking is rather visionary. I like it. What are your thoughts or feelings about such type arrangements? Because it's going to require the city to be involved.
I think it's appropriate to go ahead and allow for it now, and obviously they would have to come before us, and it'd have to be identified. In my opinion, valet parking for downtown and what I guess I'm thinking about is nighttime, folks. And so all of your employees have gone home, and then at night when that restaurant is overly busy, or that hotel, perhaps let's say that a hotel were to build on a corner, I see where he's going, and therefore in the evening specifically you can identify an area that could be then maintained as valet parking that during the day would perhaps be simply employee parking. That's a whole different ballgame maybe during the day, but I certainly see why it could be an opportunity for the evening. And in fact, I would like to see our restaurants do that. I think that would be awesome. Right now we're fortunate they can park fairly close, but that's not, I hope, always going to be the case in terms of the growth that we're seeing right now. So I don't have a problem with it. I think it's very doable.
Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any other comments or questions from the audience? Hearing none, we're going to close the public session and bring it back to the commission. Any other comments or discussion? Do I have
Assuming where they take the valet cars would be, the parking would be on their facility, or would it be on the street?
Well, my interpretation is, again, it requires a city agreement. In other words, a contractual agreement with the city, and I'm not sure if that's going to require a monetary compensation, but with that type of agreement, there'll be positions allocated within the parking areas of the city of Morgan. For example, you had a hotel, and they don't have enough space to accommodate or parking, to me, it makes a great opportunity for the hotel as well as the people that come to stay there. So, having that, the only other comment I would make is that you saw the verbiage that was wrote there. I also did a little wordsmithing and presented this to the staff regrettably late today. I don't know if you'd have an opportunity to read through that, but I basically I'm thinking the letter of intent the same, and just try to improve a little bit of the readability. And if it would meet the approval of the commission, I would like to put this in the form of a motion that we go ahead and approve this amendment.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. I'll give you a chance and opportunity to read through that and see if you agree with the verbiage in the way that's written. It's basically the same, worded just a little bit differently. And if that's satisfactory, I'd like to call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, any opposition? Doesn't seem to be any opposition. That'll go to the city council for their meeting, which is on 5 December. And coming back to our agenda, let's see. Does anybody else on our commission have something that they would like to bring up for discussion? Again, we'd like to welcome Philip as our new staff member and leader for the Planning and Zoning Department, as well as our commission. And we look forward to many years of great things to occur. Having that, I will move that we adjourn. Short.
Short and sweet. One down.
Sweet.